Ye scenes sublime, the glory of our land, to ye my soul and thoughts doth flee. Tales of the past, long cherished, shall ye be. About your fairy lore there hangs a spell, ye old traditions ever dear to me. Born of romance and reared in fancy's dell, O thus your beauties, whatsoe'er ye tell, shed o'er the poet's lay, with which they time a chain that hallows still more lofty strains than mine. Though war and havoc oft have swept the land, yet far and near spread o'er our native plains, unshaken still in hoary grandeur stands, all stern and lone, our old immortal fanes. Oh, while one venerable stone remains of those grey relics reared on Erin's sod, although defiled by Saxons and by Danes, who left the spoiler's trace where'er they trod, we love the marble shrines our fathers raised to God. The holy ruins may the patriot guard, the pillared cloisters where they knelt and prayed, where saint and martyr, hero, sage and bard, within the voiceless aisles your dust is laid. The sepulchred ark with wrought device arrayed, the spire with golden moss and ivy grown, the ancient walls with time alone shall fade, though still they seem to crumble stone by stone, landmarks of faith and law to ages yet unknown. Ye lonely monuments of old, oft have I gazed upon your grim decay. No more within your silent walls shall swell the sacred strain as in a former day, when, as the annals of our island say, from priest and warrior the deep upon them rise, the men of truth and valour held the sway of this dear isle despite the marauding foes. Thrice hallow are the tombs where long their bones repose. Their relics lie within each mouldering urn, and now methinks I see the shadowy band of brave spirits who shall ne'er return. Look down with woe upon this degenerate land, 'tis but a vision, though sublimely grand. And girt with awe those spectral hosts appear, now nerveless is the hero's steel-clad hand, and rust hath long consumed the sword and spear, yet still, O valor's dust, shall drop the patriot's tear. Glories can we boast that shall not fade, for few the native fields on which we tread, where heroic ashes have not long been laid. Our soil is sacred to the mighty dead. At famed Thermopylae the hearts that bled no braver were than ours of long ago, and yet the scenes where kings to battle led the humblest peasants in the land can show, and mounds where sainted martyrs long have slept below. Where now the Geraldines, that noble race, who held their fastness by field and flood, who never shrank before a foeman's face, but bravely in the van of battle stood, and for their country poured their princely blood, a crimson offering on their native earth, but through ages firm and unsubdued, racked are their towers and cold each hearth, and dearly did they love the land that gave them birth. And Desmond's earls the ancient faith upheld, their swords a circle round our altars drew, our sacrilegious foes they oft repelled, and with their reeking brand they made them rue. Their impious crimes those gallant chieftains true spurned the vile bigot's power and despot's throne. Upon the field of death no fear they knew, where their proud valour like the sun shone, where their fealty swore unto their God alone. But they have perished, and the wild winds howl around each battlement and ivied wall, where through the midnight flit the bat and owl, where long the wailing banshee mourns their fall. That weeping spirit can never more recall, when her deep moans are mingled with the blast, the souls to earth that marked the tyrant's thrall. They're gone forever, yet they're not the last, those who brightly blends with memories of the past. For one there was of that illustrious line, who met in modern times a patriot's doom. Another name with his the muse shall twine, the martyred Emmet in his nameless tomb. Peace to your shades, you sank in manhood's bloom, with others resting in an honoured grave. Dark is your sleep, dark as the mournful gloom of slavery, ye spirits of the brave, that shrouds the hapless isle, ye died, alas, to save. And heroic blood was shed, alas, in vain, where native ranks the foes of Ireland met. They nobly fought upon the battle plain. O Erin, are thy hopes forever set? Or shall this land their deeds, their fate forget? The farn of those who on their scaffold fell, the men whose dying wounds remembered yet, to other times their glory shall still tell. Thus many noble souls have bade the world farewell. And yet, perchance, a future's race may see those names immortal graven on each stone, where long enshrined the precious clay shall be, and the cold relics mouldering bone by bone. Though still our country in its fetters grown, the sacred dawn of freedom may arise. O then to unborn ages shall be known the deathless daring of the chiefs we prize, recorded on each spot where martyred valor lies. Alas for thee, beloved ill-fated land, long vanished are the days of ancient pride, when thy famed warriors wielding axe and brand, with Danish slaughter stained a Blanna's tide. Then for this isle the monarch chieftain died, and Morrock strewed with the dead and wave and shore, nor little deemed when by the ocean side their country's banner in the gale they bore, another foreign foe would bind their chain once more. Clontarf, thou day of glory and of grief, bleak was the morning when they strife begun, but in his tent was slain the royal chief, the hoary Brian, ere that day was done. Had Erin left one vile degenerate son, so lost and fallen, whom no glow inspires, of patriot pride, to think on battles won, on deeds by minstrels, tunes to burning lyres, the great and heroic fame of our immortal sires. O'Neill, O'Donnell, valiant chiefs of old, the scourge, the terror of the Saxon Pale, on Ulster's fields your clansmen brave and bold have swept our foes like leaves before the gale. They pierced them flying through their coats of mail, but heard no more that thrilling battle cry on northern winds which made the foemen quail. Clans of the north, long, long in dust you lie, and buried are the swords you used in days gone by. A legend tells you rest not on the grave, that from the earth your spirits are not gone, that still you sleep within a lonely cave, beside your steeds with armour buckled on. Hence, idle tale, your valour's task is done. Deep is that trance from which you weak no more, but through time shall live the fame you've won. Such arms and hearts, oh, when shall fate restore, as those that fought and bled in braver times of yore? Ask not the coward peasant if 'tis time to rouse your ranks once more in stern array. Gone is the courage of your souls sublime, the manhood of this land hath passed away, and trampled still beneath the Saxon sway. Low prostrate Erin with her bosom gored, to woe, to want, and tyranny a prey, abjures the cause of her ancient chiefs a lord. She wears proud Albion's chain, and shrinks beneath her sword. Like star that sparkle in a wintry sky, the rainbow's radiance through the tempest rage, such are the glorious names of days gone by, that shed their light upon our mournful page. And thus shall they shine on, from age to age, in history's varied tale and poet's lay. The hero's deeds, the wisdom of the sage, the patriot's memory, long survive their clay, though thrones and empires too may crumble in decay. Raise the proud column o'er his hallowed dust, whose mighty soul in far Italia's clime from earth had fled, and let the scroll and bust unfold his greatness to a future time. Our own Demosthenes, so great, sublime, whose glory at the bar and senate shone, whose scathing ire denounced each tyrant's crime, where'er oppressor's iron sway was known, from Russia's dreary wilds to India's torrid zone. Mute is the burning tongue that millions swayed, silent the potent voice and still and cold, the patriot heart that in the tomb is laid, where sacred relics rest since days of old. Ah, never, never more shall we behold one like that gifted chief, whose boundless fame on the far echoes of the earth hath rolled. The world's wide praise his virtues long must claim, and nations yet unborn shall love O'Connell's name. At his electric word those hosts were seen upon their native hills, all stern to stored. And had he missed his country's standard green, or grasped with high resolve the freeman's brand, fierce as the tempest at his high command, that race in danger's van so often tried, like Etna's floods of fire, would sweep the land. But they are gone, their country's hope and pride, all have vanished now who ranked on freedom's side. Their homes are lonely, whither have they fled? Their warlike cheer to heavens shall swell no more. Go seek them now among the countless dead, or weeping exiles on a foreign shore. And he, the sage, refined in human lore, on earth hath laid his honour head to rest. His lifelong task of mental toil is o'er. Peace to his soul, where dwell the bright and blest. Calm be the patriot's sleep upon his mother's breast. We saw him once from iron portals pass, from prison walls mid shouts that rent the sky, and martial strains, but yet could trace, alas, care up on his brow and languor in his eye. The pageant hold with banners waving high around the tribute car was proud to see. It seemed portentous that the honour was nigh, when native ranks, determined to be free, would strike one heroic blow for our home and liberty. Yet bloodless was his great and grand career, the sword of slaughter shuddering still to wield. He spared the widow's wail, the orphan's tear, the purpled horrors of the battlefield. But when to moral force did despots yield, with such in vain shall right or justice plead. Valour alone will prove a nation's shield, yet none then preach the coward's dastard creed, save those whose craven hearts would shrink and bleed. He's gone, the champion of his country's cause, the man whose deeds transcend all human praise, whose tongue and pen broke down the fiendish laws, like Draco's code of bloody penal days. To wilds far hidden from the foreman's gaze, to woods and caves, both priest and flock were driven. But there no more the sacred cross they raise, the fettered forged, to blind our souls are riven. And men of Christian faith may dare to look on heaven. He toiled for Irish rights through many a day. Shall Irish hearts forget him in his grave? The great departed, blessed shall be his clay, not by tyrant, but by weeping slave. And long as o'er that tomb the winds shall rave, and where lowly lies the chief whom we deplore, long as our fields are green, or while the wave rolls its white surge upon our native shore, that star immortal shines, whose light we see no more. O when our noble Grattan proudly rose, and led the serried ranks of 82, prepared to guard this isle from foreign foes, they stood, a native phalanx, stern to view. Their hands were ready, and their hearts were true, to Erin's cause, but gone that glorious day, when at one martial stroke we might subdue our foes, when armed for right in valour's fray. and hurl from these shores that desperate's ruthless sway. Land of the hero and the glorious sage, where Washington and Franklin lie enshrined, then rose thy sons in the battle's rage, unfurled their starry banner to the wind, and soon a foreign yoke did they unbind, and spurned a tyrant's power and his base control, while rang the cheers, the plaudits of mankind. Their swords have hewn the way to glory's goal, and spread their valiant fame afar from pole to pole. In ancient times the bard, with harp and song, sped to the battle with his burning lay, was heard to thrill the martial ranks along, where our bold warriors stood in stern array. Those great death's daring stoles, thus ever may the muse be found in glory's armed van, with sword and voice as once in each proud fray, where tyrants perished since the world began, beneath the sacred steel that aids the rights of man. Shade of the great departed, thou, whose might drove from our shores the fierce invading Dane, thy brave descendant stood for Erin's right, and now he wears the captive's galling chain. Far from his own loved island, upon the main, he goes with others, gifted, true, and tried, with men who deemed but light the martyr's pain, who death and danger for their land defied, and who to right her wrongs like Spartans would have died. Yet they were left alone, for few or none beside them stood, but played the coward's game, faded their hopes like rays on sleeve on. Their only solace was an honoured name, and through the tempest's wrath, the lightning's flame, in gloomy glens and wilds laid down his head, on the rude rock or heath, the outlaw's dreary bed. What warlike movements hourly met the sight, and struck our eyes with curious wonder then, encampments flying through the dead of night, the glittering steel, the tramp of armed men. The drum, the bugle startled each lone glen, and England's forces made a gallant show. There was a time, a prouder era, when, unscathed through this land, they might not go, nor seek in vain the haunts that held a mountain foe. Then dumb as death became the vaunting tongues of those who vowed to conquer or to die, with flashing eyeballs and stentorian lungs. Oh, had you heard them Saxon power defy, you'd swear the chivalry of days gone by would soon be thrown inglorious in the shade by modern heroes who would scorn to fly or break the valiant promises they made. But woe unto the cause by dastards thus betrayed. Fierce braggarts, ye who shrank in danger's hour, well have you earned the world's scorn and hate, for when our brave dared despotic power, you shunned the field and left them to their fate. To raise this country from its lowly state of servile bondage was their noble aim. Alas, the struggles of the rude and great from times of old could not achieve the same. Long may a halo shine around each patriot's name. And shall we hear no more his martial tongue that spoke with rapture of the battle plain, the noble, fearless, eloquent, and young, that darling of this land, he who would drain his heart's warm current Erin to maintain thy cause through strife and carnage, woe or weal, like freedom's echo still his burning strain, to thrill within our souls we deeply feel, he loved the freeman's sword and spurns the foeman's steel. Like accents of the loved and lost who throng round us in dreams, sweet songs, voices ever dear, the memory of bright visions vanished long, of glorious tones we never more shall hear. O thou whose name shall future times revere, though sad thy captive lot beyond the sea, whose earl late awakes the gushing tear, such is our mournful retrospect of thee, in all true hearts enshrined, young hero, thou shalt be. Famine and plague, what havoc ye have made, And was it thus that stalwart men should die? Beside the husband's corpse the wife was laid, her quivering lip and coldly gazing eye told that not yet had life's exploring sigh from out that fond and faithful bosom fled. In vain for food her starving infants cry, there's none within that squalid shed, nor even a taper's light to watch the solemn dead. Ye human victims from existence swept in your last fearful throes of mortal pain, thus you sank unpitied and unwept. How many wailed your fate, alas, in vain! Upon the Moloch shrine of guilty gain was Erin's hapless race to death consigned. O ghastly sacrifice, how black the stain! Chill creeps a shuddering o'er the heart and mind, to think that thus should die such numbers of mankind. Shroudless and coffinless they thickly lie, the famished dogs devoured them in their graves. Now vaunting Albion safely made deny the rights of freemen to their stricken slaves. Nor need she send her hirelings o'er the waves, for Erin's factious sons are severed still. When party feud a nation's mind depraves, despots never need use force or skill. Their native traitors then and tools to work their will. How often have I seen with tearful eye, departing from our land, the exiles sail, as from the deck each wild and melting cry broke o'er the waters like a funeral wail, and manhood's cheek with streaming grief was pale, from the soul's flood's gates, gnashing unconfined, and women shrieked aloud, O doleful tale, as sped the bark before the reckless winds. Then homeward sadly turned the mourners left behind. Ah, thus they go, our hardy sons of toil, to find a briny grave or happier home, by dire oppression forced to fly that soil, where once in infant days they'd loved to roam. Poor wanderers, haply now they watch the foam that breaks on distant shores, and kindly mourn, with the faint hope that yet the time may come, when from earth's dearest ties no longer torn, they'll tread their native fields, nor sigh afar forlorn. Yet why should they bewail, for naught is left to bind them to the isle that gave them birth, sad outcasts on the world, of all bereft, quenched is the fire upon their lowly hearth. There once was heard the voice of humble mirth, the rustic song, the legendary tale, but lo, a burning curse hath swarmed the earth, with choking graves and stalking spectres pale. O dark the blight of heaven have come down on Inish Vale. Such woes were never seen since Cromwell's horde spread famine o'er this isle, which heaven spared, when through the lands they swept with fire and sword, wasting the grain our fruitful valleys reared. In tracks where murder stalked what deeds they dared, and left behind a raging waste of flame. The spoilage of the soil their meanest shared, when to this isle of foul barbarians came, and boastful records still their villainies proclaim. Their vile descendants long have held the land, and reaped in fields which they have never sown. They wrecked the peasant's home with ruthless hand, and of his dwelling left nor roof nor stone. They sent him forth amidst the tempest moan, to beg the world or fly his native shore, with hearts that mocked at pity's melting tone. When, child of misery, shall thy woes be o'er? Too long remorseless men have shed thy tears and gore. By gold, by force and fraud from us was torn our country's rights, her senate, wealth and trade, and now the spoilers hold in bitter scorn the cringing serfs and beggars they have made, since first they came this island to invade. Their path with gory ruin oft was red, low in the dust our ancient shrines they laid, to face those isles where saints had loved to tread, those solemn sacred tombs that hold the hallowed dead. O all ye dearest, loveliest scenes of earth, the glen, the fort, the rath, the holy well, The charm, the land of beauty of my birth, too feeble far this language slay to tell, how my rapt soul, entranced by fancy's spell, mused in each lonely track, of which we're told legends that in the poet's memory dwell, that call up spectres from the cold mound, full many a strange, wild, romantic tale of old. Ages have passed, nor yet the cancer heals, in Erin's bosom festering, burning sore. One hates the altar where the other kneels, and this fell spirit born in days of yore, nurtured of hell, still lives within the core of the land's vitals, makes her children's foes. O when those dire contentions shall be o'er, and not till then this isle shall find repose, her native rights restored, a period to her woes.